last video we just did, it actually, I think, relates very much here. You could use the same exact process in math, which is literally just to start with Google and maybe use Rethinking Schools and kind of go from there and get a brainstorm of ideas. Now, if you've listened to last week's video and you're like, I kind of want more, let's say you're teaching a math class and you're not getting anything from the Google searching or you just want another idea, right? Where can you go? So I'm going to share with you a couple other ideas that I've had as a coach math teachers to think about what are those kind of sparks of inspiration that connect to justice. So we'll deep dive into that now. I would look for math and social justice textbooks. There are many. I own some of these, actually several of these. But what I would do if you are just looking for ideas is actually to go in. Let's start with this one. I know I own this one. I actually own the two that are both purple. So here we go. Let's click in on Amazon usually, and other platforms as well, but usually Amazon has a pretty good preview. So once you look at this, if this is relevant to you, right, you want to pick a text that is actually relevant. This is for high school math. And I have heard a lot of college math teachers use this as well for reference, but I want to just go ahead and click in and see what we can see for the preview. So the preview sometimes is different for Kindle and paperback, but I'm just going to, I believe this works for paperback. So I'm going to just scroll down and see if we can get to the table of contents. We can. Perfect. Okay. So now that I'm here, there's kind of like this intro of teaching for justice and social justice in math. And then let's see here. When we go in, there we go, math lessons specifically. So these are specific topics. So thinking about transformational resistance, who is taking honors courses, GLSEN or GLSEN, thinking about LGBTQ issues, wealth distribution. There's even, so you could look at obviously the subtitles of these as well. So number and quantity, algebra and functions. So depending on what you're teaching, statistics and probability, geometry, you can kind of filter by those. Geometry is often one that I'm asked about. So healthy food choices and food deserts, gerrymandering, right? Food justice, Paralympics. Thinking about some of these topics might spark some ideas. And I just want to go ahead and go back. Let's go back to here. And let's say that we click into, so I always suggest Rethinking Schools. They have a textbook. Let's say that we go in here and this book actually does not have, I don't think, a table of contents that is accessible in Amazon. So if I click in and there's only 5 images, okay, and there's not that like look inside preview thing. So you can't actually like scroll through stuff. So maybe one of these 5 images is actually a table of contents, but I don't think so. Yeah, nope, it's not. So what would I do here? What I do is I would type in rethinking mathematics. Yeah, here we go. And actually I would just go one step further, table of contents. So I would actually search for the book title and table of contents. Here we go, Rethinking Schools. If anyone has it, it's probably their own publishing organization. So let's see if the Rethinking Schools website actually does have a table of contents. Yes, it does. It's right here. So you can actually click in and see. They're also similarly to the other organization of the textbook. There's a little bit there. Okay, disparities in wealth, similar. No TV week math, activity box. Okay, interesting. Driving while black or brown, racial profiling. Freedom, intersection of race and math. War in Iraq, how much does it cost? Okay, so the cost of war. Environmental hazards, environmental racism. So interesting. So again, we have viewing math broadly. We talked about that, I think, in the last video as well, this idea of broad versus specific. And then we also have very specifically what are the subtopics that you could get into. So again, I could kind of scroll through, I could look at all of these things. You could do an interdisciplinary piece or a transdisciplinary piece. So there's also kind of all of these here, but that's where I would start. So again, we started with Google, and the first search, just to refresh, was just looking at math and social justice textbooks. And then from there, we're looking at the table of contents of each one. In science, I would say, have a steady stream of incoming information to kind of learn about what's going on in the world and how that might connect to math. And if you're a math expert and your team is, right, you're going to start making those connections. Also, have conversations with people in other disciplines, have those kind of Googleable list of textbooks, go through the table of contents, go through magazine articles or blogs that are dedicated to this. There are so many out there. And just again, think through the questions that you're asking and use the topics as inspiration. You don't need to read it all. I mean, you can, that would be awesome. But right now we're just looking for sparks of ideas to connect to the content.